To the No DQ live recap of WWE NXT for May the 18th, 2021. Shout out to the chat room, everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support as always. And if you do enjoy this video, please share a link to it on social media. Just copy the link, tell a friend. Anything you can do to spread word of mouth would be very much appreciated. Let's go ahead and get started with this recap. We kicked off NXT this week with Toni Storm versus Zoe Stark. They've been building up a rivalry over the past several weeks. Stark had a hot start, did not last too long. She got thrown into the steps, and then Toni Storm worked over Stark for a while. Stark did make a comeback. They traded blows, and then Storm hit the Storm Zero. However, Stark was able to kick out of this, and then Storm had to bust out a new move, which was, I wasn't even sure what it was at first, but it looked like a hip toss into a DDT. Wade Barrett did not even know what to call it, but it was basically a DDT, a modified DDT, and Toni Storm did pick up the victory over Zoe Stark. And then the lights went out after the match. When they came back on, we had Frankie Monet appear on the stage and a big graphic on the screen. She will be making her in-ring debut on next week's edition of NXT. Nice little start to open up this week's show. We had a backstage interview with Legato del Phantasma minus Santos Escobar. They wanted their tag team title match, but then Tommaso Champa and Timothy Thatcher appeared. They felt that Legato del Phantasma would have to go through them first, and a match was set up to determine the next challengers, I would presume. And shout out to Colin Andrew. Colin is here. Colin had surgery today. He's doing okay, best of my knowledge. He's here in the chat room. He's in recovery. So thank you, Colin, for tuning in. I appreciate it. And best wishes to you with your recovery, and hope to see you on the No DQ review in the near future. We had Cameron Grimes arrive to the arena, and he gave his keys to Jake Atlas. Atlas said that the spot that Cameron Grimes parked in was reserved for Ted DiBiase. Cameron Grimes got very upset about this and basically called out Atlas for a match. We had a segment with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell in a spa, and Candice was talking about their tag team title reign. You had Indy saying that Candice was right about Dexter Lumis. He's a loser. Her eyes were covered with the stuff they put over your eyes during the spa treatment. I'm not even sure what it is, but Dexter Lumis was revealed as the worker that was there attending to Indy. She just didn't know it because her eyes were covered. WWE action figure matches says, why are there only 30 people in here? Because nobody cares about NXT anymore. It's sad but true. But I'm still doing the recaps. I'm still here. And if you guys do enjoy the video, again, the best way you can help out, send a link to this video and tell a friend. Let's get more people in here. We had a Finn Balor and Karrion Kross video package to hype up their match for next week's show. And it was pretty good. I liked it. The best thing about it, in my opinion, was Paul Heyman being interviewed for this match. And he said that even the tribal chief Roman Reigns is interested in this match. And Heyman said normally he does spoilers, but he said in this case, it's just a little too close to call. So Paul Heyman, nice addition to this to make the match feel like a really big deal. We had Cameron Grimes appear for his match against Jake Atlas. And we had him talk about Ted DiBiase. He put up a video package basically of Ted DiBiase getting beat up, humiliated, getting Henry Godwinn dumping slop all over him, all that stuff, getting the leg drop from Hogan. We had piped in DiBiase chants. That was a little cringy, and Grimes was just reacting to these fake chants, losing his mind. We had a pretty competitive match here, but Grimes was on the verge of winning, and that's when the man himself, Ted DiBiase, showed up. He appeared on the stage. Grimes was distracted, and Atlas won with a roll-up. Almost like Monday Night Raw here with the old classic distraction finish. We had Pete Dunne in a sit-down interview, and he said he wants the main championship. He said he's never had a bad match, and even if he doesn't win his matches, his opponents are never the same. They leave different after facing him. And Ace and his familiar vlogs, those sounded like piped-in chants. Like, they sounded fake. They sounded like a bunch of the wrestlers in the back did a chant and they just piped it in. It did not sound authentic to me. Could be wrong, though, but I feel like it was a piped-in chant. And they still pipe in sound, besides what you hear from the fans there. We had the rest of that Dunne interview where he talked about his style in the ring, how he focuses on being more violent and aggressive, and that's what he's all about. And that was pretty much the gist of it. We had Killian Dane versus Alexander Wolf, which was supposed to take place on last week's show. And again, felt like a Monday Night Raw match or even SmackDown with the interference. Imperium kept trying to interfere, and Alexander Wolf grabbed a chair that was slid into the ring. He was going to use it, but then Killian Dane bulldozed him, scored the pinfall victory. And then after the match, Imperium turned against Wolf. They beat the crap out of him, hit him with the Imperium bomb, and looks like Alexander Wolf is no longer part of Imperium. So yeah, it felt very main roster-ish with the interference and all that, but you're getting an interesting development in this storyline and what's next for Imperium. And by the way, as Darren pointed out, they're announcing DiBiase versus Grimes in $1 million. I don't think it's a match. They're just having some kind of face-off on next week's show. And I'm not sure what that is going to lead to. Maybe DiBiase has somebody represent him against Grimes. And as Darren points out, maybe they do $1 million on a pole match, something like that. But I mean, that's not going to be a dent in Ted DiBiase with the way they've been portraying him. Like, it's got to be like $1 billion on a pole match for it to really dip into DiBiase's wallet. We had a backstage interview with Dakota Kai and the NXT Women's Champion, Raquel Gonzalez. And Dakota Kai wants to go for the tag team titles. Then we had Everrise interrupt, and they were kind of pushing buttons, saying that, you know, Raquel Gonzalez is a champion already, and Dakota Kai is not. And Raquel ended up sucker punching Martel, knocking him down. But yeah, little small tease for the eventual breakup between the women's champion and Dakota Kai. We had Legato del Phantasma against Tommaso Champa and Timothy Thatcher. Good match here with these guys, as you would expect. You had, at one point, Champa and Thatcher doing double ankle locks, and then Legato del Phantasma, they both reversed into pinfalls, but since all four guys were in the ring, it did not count. And it went back and forth for a while, and then we had the Grizzled Young Veterans interfere. Again, another match with interference. Did this happen a lot in NXT back on the old 1 hour Wednesday shows? Because I did not watch the 1 hour shows on a regular basis. Did we have regular matches with all this outside interference and distractions? Just wondering. Mike B with a $5 super chat says, can't wait for the live crowds to return full time so we don't have to hear this piped in sound anymore. You might still hear it. I could see WWE continuing to do it. And keep in mind, they have been doing it for years with piped in crowd noise. It's not a new concept. They tend to not do it for live shows. It's more about piping in noise for taped shows, especially when the crowd is dead. They very well could keep doing this moving forward with the piped in noises. Darren said no, and Steve-O said not what I remember as far as like all the interference and stuff like that. We had another skit backstage with Candice LeRae. Well, not backstage, at the spa. Candice LeRae's credit card was declined, and the punchline here was that the woman said the purchase was made 3 years ago at a florist. Indy Hartwell, she put two and two together and realized that Dexter still loves her. And Candice was trying to play dumb, not knowing what this purchase was about, but Indy figured it out and she left. Once again, head over heels in love with Dexter Lumis. We had Bobby Fish interviewed backstage, and he brought up once again how his focus is Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan. They injured him at War Games, and he had to have surgery. He's coming back. There's a debt that has to be paid, and said that a match with Pete Dunne is the only match that he's interested in. And he officially called out Dunne for a match on next week's show. We had our women's match, Saray versus Aaliyah. And this almost felt like AEW, kind of like in the 9:20, 9:30 time slot. Not much to say about it. Basically, just a showcase match for Saray. We had a promo from Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. They will be getting a chance at the women's tag team titles on next week's show. They are loading up next week's show. That should be a pretty big one. And then we had Top Dollar and Ashanti Adonis up against Tony Nese and Daivari from 205 Live. And another showcase match to build up Top Dollar and Adonis, build up this new faction, Hit Row. And after the match, Top Dollar and Adonis won, of course. They started trash talking with their promo. Everybody took turns talking. They're taking shots and taking spots. And they are hot, and the heat is going to rise. And Isaiah Swerve Scott said that they will be watching the main event very closely. Johnny Gargano defending the North American title against Bronson Reed in a cage match. And then we had our main event, Gargano versus Reed. Austin Theory was out there with Gargano. Played a big role in the match. And there are a few things as far as the setup for this match and the build-up went that I really wasn't the biggest fan of, but we'll get to that here in a few minutes. And Elon Brown says, Hit Row, the best thing currently on NXT. Well, what I like about it is that it's fresh. It's something new, and they're pushing some new guys and trying to build them up, and so far so good with them. You know, it's a nice change of pace. And of course, one of the issues with NXT has been that, you know, we're seeing a lot of the same guys there. People not getting called up like Gargano and Champa and Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. They've all been in NXT now for several years. So it's nice when we start to see some fresh faces coming in and seeing something a little bit different with guys and actual characters starting to be developed. TJS says NXT needs more Ronaldo. I am 100%. Wrestling needs more Ronaldo. Whether it's NXT or AEW or Impact or Raw or SmackDown, I don't think we'll see Ronaldo back on Raw or SmackDown. But yeah, Ronaldo, best announcer in wrestling, and he's very much missed. And To me, he's a major asset for any company that he ends up with if he chooses to go back to wrestling on a regular basis. So anyways, the cage match. Gargano immediately tried to escape. He kept trying to get away, and Reed beat the crap out of him, threw him into the cage repeatedly. And then Austin Theory started playing a role in the match. He started climbing the cage. He distracted Reed. Gargano was able to gain the upper hand for a bit, but then Reed hit this Samoan drop off the second rope, but it took him a while to go for the pin, and Gargano was able to kick out of that. And they both were up, standing on the top rope, trying to climb up the cage, and Gargano ended up doing a sunset flip powerbomb, which was really cool. But he could not put away Reed. Then once again, as Gargano was trying to escape, you had Reed trying to pull him back into the ring, and you had Austin Theory trying to pull Gargano out of the ring. So once again, Theory getting involved. But Reed was able to get Gargano back in, and then Gargano hit a poison Rana, and Reed recovered from that. Reed tried to escape. Once again, Austin Theory interfered. It might as well have just been a handicap match at this point. You had Theory slam the door, because you always have to have the door slammed in somebody's face in a cage match. It's just mandatory. And Gargano did hit the one final beat. Reed, however, kicked out of it. Gargano tried to escape again. Reed caught him, hit a power bomb off the top, and then Reed tried to climb again, and same thing happened. Theory tried to stop him. Theory got knocked off from the outside, and then Reed did a splash. Gargano was his back was exposed. He was trying to stand up, and you had Reed come off with a splash to the back of Gargano, and then Reed went up to the top and finished off Gargano with the tsunami to pick up the win and capture the NXT North American title. The few things that I did not like, and it wasn't anything to do with the match itself, to me it was too obvious that Reed was going to win this. You know, they really telegraphed it, I think, too much. The first thing was they made a big deal, like how Bronson Reed's wife was there, and going back to earlier with Swerve Scott saying he's going to be watching the North American title match. Well, he's a heel, so that kind of gives away that the face is going to win. And plus, you know, they were making a big deal like this is Reed's last opportunity. If he loses this, it's back on the line for him. And he already lost before. So to me, it was just a little too obvious Reed was winning this. But the match itself was really good. Lots of fun moments in it. So definitely a thumbs up. Nice ending to the show. We got some pyro for Reed's celebration. And this was easily the highlight of the show. Like, I definitely recommend checking out the cage match. Rest of the show was fine, but nothing too special. Like, I would give the main event an A-. Great cage match. The rest of the show, probably a C+. So I would maybe give the show a B- overall. It was a fine NXT, but again, didn't feel like a really big deal. Not a ton of buzz for this show. Next week seems to be a much bigger episode of NXT. They do have the Finn Balor, Karrion Kross match for the title. You're going to have the women's tag team titles. You're going to have the debut of Frankie Monet. So they're loading up next week, and then the Ted DiBiase, Cameron Grimes face-off. So yeah, B-. It was a pretty solid NXT, but other than the main event, I would say it wasn't a super memorable edition of NXT. The Rap Metal Hero dude gives it a B-. Carla loved it, absolutely A+, so that's like top tier for her. MVP Kev and CC Drink with a B minus, Elon Brown with a C, and Martin R. Cruz with a B plus overall. Game is on 100 with a B minus, and Elon Brown with a C. And Darren gives it a B. So that's NXT, everybody. I will be back next time for my thoughts on AEW Dynamite. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest wrestling news and rumors. And I will see you all next time.